The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, Chapter 1. I have ever had the pleasure in obtaining any little anecdotes of my ancestors. You may remember the inquiries I made among the remains of my relations when you were with me in England, and the journey I undertook for that purpose. Imagine it may be equally agreeable to you to learn the circumstances of my life, many of which you are unacquainted with, and expecting the enjoyment of a few weeks' uninterrupted leisure, I sit down to write them. Besides, there are some other inducements that excite me to this undertaking. From the poverty and obscurity in which I was born, and in which I passed my earliest years, I have raised myself to a state of affluence and some degree of celebrity in the world. As constant good fortune has accompanied me even to an advanced period of life, my posterity will perhaps be desirous of learning the means which I employed and which, thanks to Providence, so well succeeded with me. They may also deem them fit to be imitated, should any of them find themselves in similar circumstances. This good fortune, when I reflect on it, which is frequently the case, has induced me sometimes to say that if it were left to my choice, I should have no objection to go over the same life from its beginning to the end, requesting only the advantage others have of correcting in the second edition the faults of the first. So would I also wish to change some incidents of it, for others more favorable. Notwithstanding, if this condition was denied, I should still accept the offer of recommencing the same life. But as this repetition is not to be expected, that which resembles most living one's life over again seems to be to recall all the circumstances of it, and to render this remembrance more durable, to record them in writing. In thus employing myself, I shall yield to the inclination, so natural to old men, of talking of themselves and their own actions, and I shall indulge it without being tiresome of those who, from respect to my age, might conceive themselves obliged to listen to me, since they will be always free to read me or not. And lastly, I may as well confess it, as the denial of it would be believed by nobody. I shall perhaps not a little gratify my own vanity. Indeed, I never heard or saw the introductory words, "Without vanity I may say," etc. But some vain thing immediately followed. Most people dislike vanity in others, whatever share they have of it themselves. But I give it fair quarter whenever I meet with it, being persuaded that it is often productive of good to the possessor, and to others who are within his sphere of action, and therefore, in many cases, it would not be altogether absurd if a man were to thank God for his vanity among the other comforts of life. And now I speak of thanking God. I desire, with all humility, to acknowledge that I attribute the mentioned happiness of my past life to His divine providence, which led me to the means I used and gave the success. My belief of this induces me to hope, though I must not presume that the same goodness will still be exercised towards me in continuing that happiness, or enabling me to bear a fit of reverse, which I may experience, as others have done. The complexion of my future fortune being known to Him only, in whose power it is to bless us, even in our afflictions. Some knows which one of my uncles, who had the same curiosity in collecting family anecdotes, was put into my hands, furnished me with several particulars relative to our ancestors. From these notes, I learned that they lived in the same village, Acton, in Northamptonshire, on a freehold of about 30 acres, for at least 300 years, and how much longer could not be ascertained. This small estate would not have sufficed for the maintenance without the business of a smith, which had continued in the family down to my uncle's time, the eldest son being always brought up to that employment, a custom which he and my father followed with regard to their eldest sons. When I searched the registers at Acton, I found an account of their marriages and burials from the year 1555 only, as the registers kept did not commence previous thereto. I, however, learned from it that I was the youngest son of the youngest son for 5 generations back. My grandfather Thomas, who was born in 1598, lived at Acton till he was too old to continue his business, when he retired to Banbury in Oxfordshire to the house of his son John, with whom my father served as an apprenticeship. My grandfather had 4 sons who grew up with Thomas, John, Benjamin, and Josiah. Our humble family early embraced the Reformed religion. Our forefathers continued Protestants through the reign of Mary, when they were sometimes in danger of persecution on account of their zeal against popery. They had an English Bible, and to conceal it and place it in safety, it was fastened open with the tapes under and within the cover of a joint store. When my great-grandfather wished to read it to his family, he placed the joint store on his knees, and then turned over the leaves under the tapes. One of the children stood at the door to give notice if saw the apparitor coming, who was an officer of the spiritual court. In that case, the stool was turned down again upon its feet, when the Bible remained concealed under it as before. These anecdotes I had from Uncle Benjamin. The family continued all of the Church of England till about the end of Charles II's reign, when some of the ministers that I had to ousted for their non-conformity, holding conventicles in Northamptonshire, my Uncle Benjamin and my father Josiah adhered to them, and so continued all their lives. The rest of the family remained with the Episcopal Church.